Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to just have a look around Nomadnet and try to explain how to use it, because for me it wasn't very obvious how to use the user interface. So let's start by running Nomadnet like this in the terminal on Ubuntu. I've already shown in other videos how to install this using pip, and as it's a Python package. So what I want to do now is just to look around this, because at first I was a little bit confused. Of course there's a guide which is very useful and you can read through the guide. I recommend this. You can find some useful information here about how to use the Nomadnet program, and really I use it more as a server program for serving up pages in the Nomadnet, because I want to host a few pages that look like simple web pages. It's not really designed, I don't think, for browsing around in the Nomadnet and chatting with people, although I have been using it in that way. But I find, of course, that Mesh Chat is far easier to use and has a much nicer overview of what you're doing. So I'll probably use that at some point in this video as well. So that's the guide. What I'll show later also is the config file, because it's sometimes necessary to put things in or to change things in the config file to be able to achieve what you want to do. I'll click on that later. Well, let's click on it now. You have to press enter to open it, and then there's immediately something you have to know in order to be able to use it. I'll show you later. The log just is an output, just one page of log, and this just scrolls off the top of the screen, but you can see what the Nomadnet software is doing and what it's doing with the RNS that's running in the background, the Reticulum network stack. And you can see that there are announcements of propagation nodes and so on. So this is live. Of course, if you want to look in the log file, then you can open it manually from the file manager, and you can see then the whole log file, not just this snapshot. At the moment it's not doing anything interesting. So let's start with network. If you click on that, this window here, you have to click in it before you can talk to it, and it's currently showing that there are no nodes saved, because there probably aren't any saved nodes. If you want to see the announced stream that's showing nodes that are announcing themselves, you press Ctrl-L. So I'm going to press Ctrl-L. Oh, there it is. And here you see nodes that have announced themselves. Actually, probably this is stored on this machine. I can't imagine that many have announced themselves in the last few seconds. The P means they're peers, so they're just peers in the Nomadnet that you can chat with if you know their LXMF address. They're not hosting any pages, whereas, as far as I understand it, N, here's an N, this is a node in the Nomad network. That's what the N means, and this is in fact hosting a page. We could just randomly connect to it, and then you'll see on the right hand side the page that's being hosted. There we are. That loaded fairly quickly as well, thank goodness. So that's a simple web page that's being hosted. Hello to the person who hosted this. So you see you can connect to these nodes, but it doesn't give you the name of the node in this view. You only see the ID identifier, which is a bit more anonymous, but it doesn't give you a very good overview. If you save them as known nodes, which you can do, if I've already clicked on this, but you can save it. You press the save button, then it'll be saved as one that's known, and you can also change the level of trust if you trust it or you don't know if you trust it yet. It depends if it's someone you know. So you can make those settings in this program. I'm scrolling up and down the list, and you can see that it's getting longer slowly as more nodes announces are being received here. Because it's a mesh network, it takes time to build up. When you first run it, this is empty, and slowly these begin to appear. And after hours or days, then the list gets longer and longer. While I'm looking at nodes, this is my node that's running. It has an LXMF address. This is the address to which you can send messages. So please send me a message if you see this node. It's nice to meet people. I've had some really interesting conversations using Nomadnet, technical ones, about how to set things up. It's been very helpful. This is the identity of this node, and this identity is stored on this machine. It's been generated when the program was first run, and the identity contains the keys, the public key I suppose, for this machine, so that what I can do if I wanted to is I could transfer this to a completely different machine. If I just copy the identity file that's stored on this machine, then it takes all of the information necessary to set it up on a different machine and continue with the same LXMF address and so on, so that I can still receive messages on another machine. This has announced itself on startup, which was 4 minutes ago. If I want to announce it again, you just press announce, and it's been sent. I'm going to press return. It's easier than clicking on OK. And now the last announce was just now. You shouldn't do this too often, of course. It's not necessary to flood the mesh network with announces, but I just wanted to show how that works. What else I can do is click on node info, and this means to me my node info, and info about my node, not about one up here, because you click in a different place for that. So my node info is this, and here's the address of the node in the network, and it has a name that I've given it, x230b. You set this in the config file. I'll show you shortly. The last announce was 5 minutes ago. Connects, it's made. Serve pages, that's pages that have been served up from what looks like a web server in this software that serves up .mu pages. And we can look at my .mu pages, and you will see, just by clicking on browse, there's my page that I put here, and I've been playing around making these links that you can click on so that it will go to these other functions and pages. This is one you just click to message me. You can copy, of course, this LXMF address and paste it into another program to send a message manually, or you can just click on the link and it takes you straight to your messages, part of your program you're using. But I can also click on these links. I'll make another video showing how I made these. So there is the RN status, the Reticulum node stack status, and you can see what connections I have. It's connected into one of the public test nets as well, which you put into a config file. There are several different config files, and I have been experimenting with where to put this kind of information. There's no back button on here because it's actually a Python program that generated this from the page. So to go back, I just click on browse again. There it is again, and these are a few others I've been playing with. Let's have a look at maybe that one. There we are. This calls some system info from the operating system that's hosting this node, which is Ubuntu 22.04, and puts it on a page. And I've been playing around with how to write Python code to get this information, but that'll be subject to a different video. So that's how I browse my own node. I can announce if I want. RST means reset, so you can reset these stats back to 0 if you're counting things, which I'm not going to do. And what else do we have here? Messages are under this tab called conversations. I'm just going to check this is still recording because there was a bug earlier where it stopped. Okay, so conversations, you click on that, and there you see a list of conversations that I've either received a message or I've sent a message to somebody. And when a new message has arrived, which I've not yet read, you get this little envelope symbol beside it. Let's click on it. I don't know what it's going to say. Oh, that's nice. So someone wrote to me, and it's in green, saying that he saw my page. I actually replied, thank you so much. And if that message were delivered successfully, then this would turn to a blue color and you get a check mark here probably instead of an X. X in English means didn't work. X in German means I choose this one. So they're opposite meanings. Anyway, I said thank you so much. It hasn't been delivered yet. This may be stored in a store and forward node somewhere. Depends on the settings, and you have to set this up in the config file. So maybe the person will receive it later when they come back online, depending on my settings. Let's just choose another one. That's interesting. Let's choose one where I actually responded. Here we are. You see blue means the message I sent, there's the check mark, was actually received by this other conversation partner. So there we are. That's the messages function. If you try scrolling through these, I'm using the double touch scroll on a touchpad, you see the messages are not moving up and down, and probably with a mouse wheel it's the same. You have to actually click on here first, and that puts this in here, and then you can scroll. So you need to know that, otherwise it doesn't work. The other thing you need to know is if you wanted to copy an address like this and paste it into somewhere, then, because I actually keep notes and I copy paste useful addresses, the way you copy this is you have to hold down the shift key on your keyboard, the left hand shift, and then you can click on it, and then you can double click to select it. So I've selected that by holding down shift and then double clicking, and then I want to copy the address. Do not use Control C because that will exit the program. I do it still out of habit. You have to do Control Shift C, which I'm doing now, and I've just done it, to copy the address because we're in a terminal based application, and Control Shift C is how you copy. And now, if I want to, I could make a new message. You see down here there are various commands, and the commands that are offered change depending on what you click on. So when I'm in this window here, Control N will give me a new text message. So I'm going to do Control N like that, and then you type in the address you want to send it to with Control Shift V. Now I think you actually need to put in the name as well. I had a problem earlier that I couldn't send messages until I knew the name of the person I wanted to send it to, like this X238 mesh chat or whatever. I needed to put that in as well to make it send. And then you hit create. Maybe this won't work. Yeah, it didn't work because I didn't put in the name. So that's interesting. You do need a name. I don't find it very helpful, but there it is. The other thing you can do with copying and pasting is you can, if I go back to network and you want to browse a page, you can do Control U to give a field where you can type in a URL. So if I just want to choose one of these, let's say this one, I would, let's try copying this. Shift, double click, and then Control Shift C to copy, and then I'm going to do Control U, and then I can enter the URL. You need to delete the one that's already there. Don't delete this file, index.mu, because that's what you want to call up from the other server. I found if you delete that, it doesn't default to it. So I leave it there, and I do Control Shift V to put in the destination address I want to browse, and I want to look at the index.mu file. So I'm going to press Go on the keyboard, with the mouse rather, trackpad, and here we are, path requested, waiting for path. So it's sent out a request for that page to be served, which may or may not work, because that server might be offline, or maybe not hosting pages, or maybe there is no path timed out, so there wasn't. But that's how you do it. You use Control U. There is a back button down here, backwards and forwards through the pages as well, which you can use. So I've shown how to connect to a page manually, and I've shown how to start a chat manually, or just click on a chat partner and reply, which is of course easier. The other thing I should show you is the config file, and there's a built-in editor which you can set in the config file itself, and it's chosen to be Nano, which is the editor I would use anyway on the command line. I don't usually go in here through this way, but here it is. Here's the config file. If I start typing on, oops, oh, it's working. That's interesting. You have to type something before it works. Let me try that again. Let's exit with Control X. Don't save it. No. So I'm going to click on Open Editor, and I'm clicking the up and down keys on the keyboard, the cursor keys, and the cursor is not moving. It's stuck in that corner. And the only way that I can make it do anything is by pressing a key, another key on the keyboard. Like, let's press, I don't know, space. No, it didn't work. Or enter. Okay, enter works. And now I can move the cursor up and down. I'm not sure if it's a bug or a feature, but I need to know that to be able to use it. You've got to press enter and then you can use it. Let's delete the line that I put in, and now I can move around. So that's interesting. I needed to work that out by trial and error. Anyway, I'm going to exit from this. Or maybe we'll look through it. Let's look through it while we're here. So this is the default config file that's generated by the Nomadnet program, and most things I leave the same. It doesn't have a lot of things in it. If you want to host web pages, then you need to put that setting in. Something that is useful is this notify on new message. This makes a sound. When I receive a message, it goes beep, which is quite handy because there's no pop-up little message on the screen to say you have a new message, which you do get if you use Mesh Chat. So here I have this switched on, so it goes beep, and then I come over to look at this computer and see what the message is. Announce at start means it announces its address in the mesh, in the Reticulum network, and that I have that on, of course. You can also manually set this up to announce itself at different intervals. Try propagation on send failed, yes. So if a message is not sent or it fails to send, then it can be stored somewhere and try propagating another way. I'm not going to go through all of these settings, just the ones where I found I needed to change things or set something. Not going to go into stamps. Somewhere, I like dark theme, somewhere there's the setting that I want to host pages. I've probably gone past it, I'll have to go back and look for it. Hide the guide if you don't want to see it anymore, but here we are. Enable node, the default setting for this is no, and I change this to yes in this case because I am hosting pages, so I want to be able to serve up those pages. So I've switched that to yes. You can put in here the node name, and I've called it x230b so that I know what it is. So that's fixed. The announce interval you can change. It's currently set to 60 minutes, although I've noticed that it doesn't seem to announce at all. Sometimes it's like last announced 10 hours ago. If I've been ignoring the machine overnight, it hadn't auto-announced. I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe someone else can suggest why it doesn't actually do it once per hour, even though I've set it in here. I don't want to be a propagation node with this machine, so I disable propagation with yes, which is the default setting anyway. Is there anything else that's really important in here? Yes, if you are hosting a node, then normally you have to exit this program using quit and restart it for the new page to be incorporated into what's served up as pages. You can change that, and what I've done is put a 1 here, which is a bit strange because I think that's in seconds, isn't it? No, minutes. So the interval in minutes for rescanning when a change has occurred of a hosted page. So I set it to 1 for 1 minute. But actually, when I do make a page change and save it, the .mu file, it is immediately available and served up as the new page. So I'm not sure about that 1 minute. It seems to be immediate, which is more convenient for me anyway. Printing, don't need to go into. So that is the config file for this Nomadnet program. You could put TCP connections and other interface connections in here. I prefer to put those in the config file for the RNS daemon, the Reticulum network stack, because if I'm running other programs here, I want them to have the same settings. So I'm going to exit this with Control X, save it, no, because I don't think I made any changes, but there we are. What I could actually do now is to start up another program, which is going to be Mesh Chat. So I have to do cd. I've shown in another video how to do this, and then it's /r tab. That beep is the same beep as you get when you have a message. I know it's that version. And then let's start that up as well. And it's okay to have these two different programs running on one machine because the Reticulum network stack can serve multiple instances. And so now there should be 2 instances using it. So this is the Mesh Chat program. Let me just check that that's working. This is the log output from Mesh Chat, which is doing various things. It's not really properly set up, but anyway, let's just do rn status. And on a freshly installed machine, the Reticulum network stack is only started when you call it from one of those other programs, either Nomadnet or Mesh Chat. I've set this machine so that it starts on boot, and there it is. It's running, and I've got this public test interface configured, and yeah, that's the connection to the internet, and that's connection to my terminal. So it seems to be working normally. And if I then go and look at the Mesh Chat program, which is here, you can see that it's running. I'm not making a video about Mesh Chat, but I'm just showing I'm using it as a tool, because what I can do is I can look at interfaces on here, and it shows you what interfaces are present on this machine. And you can add or delete them here, and what it does, it actually edits the config file for RNS and changes them there. And if I manually add interfaces in RNS, then they appear listed here, I discovered. Let me show you the config file for RNS, because you probably are going to have to go in and change things there if you're going to use Nomadnet. So where is it? It's stored in home, and then it's in .reticulum, and then config. I'm just going to double click it so it opens in an editor. So this is my config file. It's the default one, and I've just added one or two extra things in here. Actually, I haven't added any network interface, which is why there were no... Oh yes, I have. Down here. Oh no, there's actually not a TCP interface yet. That's why. So what I've configured is some testnet interfaces that it's using. I get quite confused sometimes because I put something in one config file and then another program might change it, and then a third program is trying to use it. So it gets confusing. And there's quite a learning curve, I find, with all of these different programs and config files, but it's working. So I encourage you to try it if you haven't already. This is like I've started with Mesh Chat and got used to how to use that. I'll make a video about some of the settings on that as well. But I wanted to then show that I moved on to using this program, the Nomadnet program, because I wanted to serve up pages, so I've had to work out how to use this. So it's like the next stage after starting with Mesh Chat for me. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for watching or listening, and if you have questions or comments or suggestions or any helpful information you can give me, please put it in the comments below. And I always like to hear from people who write to me on this system as well, on the Nomadnet network, so feel free to send me a message. And there's some interesting conversations going on here with helping set people up, or people helping me set things up. It works both ways. So remember to like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want notifications of new videos, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.